Hi, I'm Amy and this is A-Star Reads, and it is time for my update. It's time to tell you about how my game is changing. I always change my prompts a little bit, but I'm actually changing a lot about the actual gameplay this time. Not a lot, but I'm changing some things. I want to go through those changes with you. I want to go through the rules of this game, so if you're unfamiliar with my game, you'll know how to play, so that when I go and do my actual TBR games, this will be the reference video. So I chose to use the Game of Life for my game because it's one of my favorite games. Growing up, I absolutely loved Life. I mean, I've liked board games of most sorts, but this is the one that as a kid, I wanted to play the most. I don't know why, but it was my favorite. And I was inspired by Becca from Becca and the Books because she picked Monopoly because that's one of her favorite games. I am also inspired by all the other booktubers that have done TBR games because they're so much fun to watch. There's such a fun way to pick our TBR each month. And so yeah, big fan. So I wanted to start this, and I did start it this is my third year, I think. It's not the anniversary of my board game. I think that's like in February, but this is my third year using a board game to choose my TBR. Now, one thing I should say right off the bat that's going to change about my game is that I'm only going to be choosing books with my board game every other month. I'm not going to be doing it monthly because I've just been finding that it's wonderful. I love using my board game, but it does limit the freedom I have to create videos that are more creative. So I have a lot of ideas of different secret TBRs and different kinds of vlogs that I want to do that are themed because I really love themed vlogs. That's what I would like to do more of because those are some of my favorite videos. I have all these good intentions. I have all these ideas of things I want to do, but then I never get around to reading the books for them. And that's just been kind of a bummer. So I want to give myself a little more room for mood reading in a sense, but not really mood reading because I have plans for that mood reading. I am upping the number of books that I pick during those months that I actually pick books. So I'll be starting with 6 spins each month. So on my board, it was 4 before, now it's going to be 6 is where I'm starting. And then of course, if I have tally marks, which add up to 5, and I'll talk about the tallies in a second, or if I have something on the board that requires me to add more books, I will do that when that happens. That gives me 2 months to work on them. Now, the way my challenges worked in the past was I had to only read 100 pages of that book for it to not count as a challenge. Like the next month I would be doing a challenge. This time around, I have to read all the books. If I don't read all the books completely by the end of 2 months, I have to do a challenge instead for the following one. So I'll talk about challenges in a second as well. I just wanted to let you know that I'm changing that aspect of it. It's not going to be 100 pages read. It's going to be, because I'm giving myself 2 months, I have to read the whole book. Okay, so let's get into the actual game plan, talk a little bit about that. So here's my board. To start out, we're either going to start in college or go to career. So to decide whether or not I'm starting in college or going to career, I spin the wheel, and if it's 1 through 5, I go to college. If it's 6 through 10, I go to career. Now, college has a little bit longer of a path, and so it would seem like career would be the better choice. But if you choose career, the very first thing you have to do is get an extra book and choose a career card. Now, career cards look like this. And these are careers. These are careers that you could possibly get. If I pick accountant, this is a tricky one, but if I were to pick accountant, then I would need to pick a book that has some essence of what an accountant does. Maybe the book is about money. Maybe the book is about an accountant. And so it doesn't have to be as on the nose as this, but it does need to take its inspiration from this card. And that's the career that I will have for the game. And it doesn't do anything else aside from add an extra book to my TBR. Now, in the past, if I went college, I would have to read YA or middle grade for these books. I have decided to stop that. I don't want to do that anymore. Same with this. If I went to career, it would all have to be adult books. And that was just for this part of the path, not for the rest of the game. It's going to be regular. It doesn't have to be YA or middle grade because, you know, when I was in college, I read a lot of adult books. I'm still in college, so yeah. Now, the first year I did this, it was a lot more complex and tricky because my prompts had to match the color on the color wheel, which would mean either a specific type of genre or a specific type of diversity rep. And I decided on my second year that I didn't want it to be that complex. Well, I've realized this last year that I kind of missed that complexity a little bit. So I've added it in, but a little more limited. So if it has an orange ring around the prompt, I have to match it with the genre that comes up when I spin the wheel. So the genres based on the color are yellow for middle grade, and I know that that's not a genre, but genre and type of book. Oops. Light orange for adult fantasy, dark orange for adult fiction, red, light red for adult horror, thriller, mystery, dark red for adult sci-fi, purple, it doesn't look that purple on here, but it's purple. Purple for classics, nonfiction is the dark blue, romance is the light blue, YA fantasy is the dark green, and YA other, so any type of YA book other than fantasy, is the light green. And I picked these because these are the kind of books I tend to read. I mean, I read a lot of different types of books, but this is what I find is most common on my TBRs. So say, for example, I picked money, and money basically is just kind of like a vibe, you know, pick a book that has something to do with money. And I were to land on nonfiction. I don't read very many economics nonfiction books, but that's a possibility. Or I could be reading a book where they're trying to reach this goal of getting a certain amount of money to create a difference of some sort. And the orange prompts are meant to be a little more loose so that I can figure out how to make it work with whatever genre I land on. The prompts that have the purple ring around them, they're pretty specific on their own right, so I didn't want to add a specific genre to that. So for example, this one's dark academia, which makes sense because it's on the college course, and I figure for dark academia, we're just gonna leave it like that. And it can be whatever kind of dark academia I find, genre-wise. And then for this one, school friend recommends. I thought it'd be fun because this is my college route to pick one of my friends who I've met because of school, or I got to know them because of school, and have them pick a book for me. But I don't want to put any limitations on what they pick for me. I'm keeping these many spinner wheel choices right here, these little spinner wheel guys. See if you can see them. Those are either genre or diversity, and when I land on those, I need to spin the wheel again, and I only have to worry about whatever genre or diversity rep I land on. And the diversity rep for these, based on color, yellow is Indigenous author, light orange is disability rep, dark orange is South American rep, red is POC author, dark red is Asian rep, purple is North America but not in the US, dark blue is Europe or Australian rep, light blue is African rep, dark green is LGBTQIA+, and light green is US POC rep, so US person of color. These are pretty broad because there's so many different ways that you can get diversity in your reading, and there are so many different groups that you can focus on reading. And I just want to make sure that I had something that would give me a lot of opportunities to look within different areas around the world and within different groups. So that is how those spinner wheels work. They're going to work the exact same way they did before, and I have a lot of those on here. And sometimes they have a +1 on them to make them a little more challenging. Then I've got the ones on the blue squares. These are either buying myself books or buying something special for me, or doing a giveaway. And so for these giveaway ones, if I end up having a giveaway for you, it also says winner chooses on here. And that means that whoever wins the giveaway gets to choose a book for that prompt for me to read. So what I'll do when I actually do these giveaways, which they won't happen all the time, but if they happen every once in a while, is I'll have a form that I create that you can put your information in so that you can be put in for the giveaway, and then you'll also recommend a book for me. And when I pick the winner, it'll already have the book that you've recommended for me to read for that prompt when I do that. So that's how that's gonna work. I don't think I talked about stop signs. Stop signs are interesting because I have to stop at them and do that prompt no matter how much I have spun. In this case, it's career card. There's this one, which is love, romance, prominent relationship. I've got TBR game down here. Then the next roll, if I land on 1 or 10, I'm stuck at that stop sign one more time. Just one more time. We're not gonna do more than one more time. I'm sticking with this. You can only get stuck once. And I have to do that prompt again, a second time. Then the next roll, I'll move forward no matter what. But on that second roll, if I land anything other than a 1 or 10, I get to move forward automatically. So that's how those stop signs work. When it comes to green spots, there are 3 choices for that, and I've changed that around a little bit depending on my challenges this year. First, the way challenges work, let me just tell you right away. In the beginning of March, if I don't finish the books that I pick this month for January and February, and I don't finish those books completely because it's no longer 100 pages, it's now the whole entire book. If I don't finish those books, then I will have to take a challenge. And that means that the whole game I play is set in challenge mode in a sense. The actual challenges for moving backwards will remain. So say I didn't finish 2 of the books that I picked from my January, February TBR, then the first 2 spins that I do, I spin, I move, I have to move backwards on the board. And then the second spin I do, I have to move backwards on the board. And then going forward, the next 4 spins I do, or however many I do, will all be with forward movement. But those first 2 challenge spins, or however many books I don't read, all have to be backwards. So I actually make less progress on the board. So when the board is in challenge mode though, that's where these green spots really come into play. So there's M or M choice, which used to be my choice, now it's my or Magda's choice. If it's in regular mode and I finished all my books, then whenever I land on these green spots, it'll be my choice. When it's in challenge mode and I land on these green spots, it'll be Magda's choice. So Magda will get to choose a book for me. And then these ones here, what are they reading? As you've probably seen in the past, I have this little pot of many, many booktubers in here. When I pick one of these booktubers, I pick one of their most favorite books and read that on these what are they reading spots. Now, if it's in challenge mode, I've changed it so that I will pick a booktuber, but I have to read one of their least favorite books. So in regular mode, I get to read their favorite book. In challenge mode, I have to read one of their least favorite books. So that's a fun one. And the final green spot are my Queer challenge spots. And this is gonna stay exactly the same as it was before. I have my little koi cup with most of the books that are on my shelves that I really want to read, or they're easy reads, or I will pick a book from my lucky koi cup. But if it's in challenge mode, it's the books on my physical TBR that are challenging, or I'm just not as excited to read them at the moment, or they're challenging. And so that's why I have to pick them out of here. That's my challenge books. Whenever I land on a green spot, I get to erase one of my tally marks from whatever space I want to erase a tally mark from. So that's up to me. I just can decide where I could be in trouble on my tallies, and then I will just erase one tally mark. Now, as far as tallies go, the way that works is that every time I spin the wheel and I actually am moving forward or moving backwards, has something to do with my actual movement of that spin, I mark down whatever number I landed on. So say I land on an 8, I will mark an 8 on my little tally sheet thing. If I land on any number 5 times, unless of course I erase one because I land on a green. But once I land on a number 5 times, then I have to add an extra book. And then my tallies clear out. I can start over again. Each number, 5 tallies means an extra book. So there could be some months where I have like 4 tallies on 3 different numbers and I hit all those numbers and get 3 extra books. It doesn't happen very often, luckily for me, but you know, you never know. It could end up happening. Happens for Magda a lot. Also, Magda's my really good friend. She has a vision impairment and she's also really involved with my channel. So she asked a while ago if she could play along, in the sense that I would pick her books for her. At the very end of my videos, I will add Magda spins in. So if you want to see more gameplay, I will always have gameplay at the end of my games for Magda, and it's fun to see what she gets. She reads a lot of books, so don't feel too sorry for her. Don't let her make you feel bad. She reads a ton of books each month. She always comes back later, puts her actual TBR, what she's decided based on the spins, in the comment section, and I will pin that comment once she gives it to me. So then you can come back and look and see what Magda chose. And also, before I forget, there is a viewer prompt. I do a viewer prompt every month, and going forward in the next couple of months, I will still do a viewer prompt every month. I'm gonna have a TBR video every single month. Even if I'm not playing the game for myself every single month, I will always be playing for you and Magda, and I will always put out a TBR video because I still have books that I'm gonna be reading in each month, and I will be wanting to talk to you about where I'm at, if I need to catch up, and what kind of readathons I'm doing. This also gives me an opportunity to add more readathons when I can and when I want to, because I'll have a little more freedom. If you haven't seen my game before, whenever I come to a crossroads, I simply spin the spinner wheel. If it's 1 through 5, I go one direction. If it's 6 through 10, I go the other direction. This is always left up to chance. It's random. I don't get to choose which way I want to go based on the prompts. As far as the board goes, there's a lot of new prompts on here. A lot of people gave me suggestions, and a lot of them were like friend pick, or this person pick, or that person pick. I have a lot of those in my book cards, and so because Magda gets book cards a lot, I don't get them as much as she does. I have decided that if I land on a number 5, when I'm doing regular gameplay and I land on a number 5, then that's actually a book card. Doesn't matter what prompt I get, I will have to pick a book card. This will supersede any prompt that I land on. And another thing I'm changing is if I land on a 10, when I'm talking about like actual movement rolls, if I land on a 10, I get to do a secret TBR book, and I'm not gonna tell you about it. So it just gets to be whatever I want to do, because I have a lot of things I want to work on that I said I don't get to work on very often. And there's ideas that I have that I would like to share with you, and fun little things that I wanna do. So So taking from Sid Bookworm, she has one spot where she has a secret TBR spin, and when she lands on it, she doesn't have to tell us what the book is because it's for a secret TBR, but she has to read it in that month. So I decided to do that and add it to my board as well, and that's for number 10. So number 5 is book card, number 10 is secret TBR. And then of course I have all these book card spaces. So just know that a lot of my you pick, viewer pick, friend pick, all those things are in this bag. I have a lot of them in here. And I did add some on this board. Don't get me wrong, I did add some, and of course I added the my choice or Magda choice in the green spaces. But those were very popular types of picks. A lot of the other types of prompts you guys suggested were like random generators, random emoji generators, random picture generators. I even found a random sentence generator, which I thought would be fun. So I added quite a few of those on here. So I've got more randomness going on my board, which we all love random choices. And then one person, Kimberly, I think, said that she wanted some death roll chooses because I have a couple of videos where I use a death roll to choose what books I read. And this is an idea that I got from Paige with Paige, and it's so much fun. I absolutely love it. I've been doing it for a couple of vlogs. I did 2 vlogs so far. I liked that idea because Kimberly said, well, this is the game of life. You should have some death roll chooses spots. And when I land on those spots, I have to pick 5 books that have to do with whatever genre I land on, and the death roll will choose that. And if you don't know what the death roll is, I'm gonna link a video up here for you to check out. And you can see what that means. When I get my first death roll, you'll see what it means also. There were a couple of specific prompts that were requested, and so I put some of those on the board as well. I'm going to link down in the description box below a picture that includes all the prompts on it, so you can take a look and see what's on this new board, how it's changed. Thank you so much for everybody who gave me suggestions and gave me their ideas and told me what you wanted for the board. Also, there's a couple of spots that say H or T, and there's a few of them. H or T is heads or tails. So I'll be using a coin to flip, and there'll be 2 different options. So for like this one up here, somebody said they wanted more nonfiction and classics, and I figured for the college route, this is perfect. So I have a H or T, nonfiction or classic. When heads or tails, if I land on heads, it's nonfiction. If I land on tails, it's classic. And then of course on my spinner, I do have nonfiction and classics on here as well. But then there's a couple other heads or tails where I have to, if it's heads, I add a book. If it's tails, I subtract a book. So there's some fun ways that I've changed this board up, and I'm really excited to get into it and see how it treats me this year and see what kind of fun shenanigans I can get into. And then of course the end hasn't changed at all. I've kept it exactly the same. If I spin 1 through 5, I go to Countryside Acres, and I get to buy 2 books for myself. And my prompt for that one is most anticipated book. And if I land on 6 through 10, it's a giveaway. And I'm gonna be giving away 2 books to you guys. And the prompt for that one, if you guys win, is library recommends. So basically I'll pick a book that was recommended by my library. And I think that that's it for the way the game ends, and then I start over again. That's pretty much it. It takes a long time. I don't think I even finished the game last year, so let's hope I can finish it this year. I think I've covered everything. I think this helps describe the game pretty well, but if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section down below, and I will let you know what I've missed, because I'm sure I've missed something. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you can see what happens with my first TBR of 2023, because that's coming out just after this one, like tomorrow or something. I don't know when I'm gonna put this one out. Soon. It's coming out soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.